Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Dear Dr. Hussain Mohyuddin, Dr. Ishaq Bhatti, Dr. Ghori, and all other respectable guests, speakers, intellectuals, professors, researchers, specialists, bankers, industrialists, and guest participants, and ladies and gentlemen in general. By the grace of Almighty Allah, it is indeed an opportunity of pleasure for me to be with you in this graceful session, and I would say opening session of International Conference on Islamic Bank and Finance, organized by Minhaj University Lahore. And I hope it is going to be a landmark and a highly appreciable contribution towards developing the ideas and practices of Islamic economics, Islamic finance, and Islamic banking, not in Pakistan, not in particularly this region, but it will contribute to this development all over the world. I congratulate the responsible leaders of Minhaj University, and especially Professor Dr. Ishaq Bhatti, who came all the way from Melbourne, Australia. And I welcome and congratulate all other leading scholars, researchers, and academicians who are contributing a lot in development of Islamic economics, finance, and banking. Islamic banking and finance today is making giant strides in terms of products and services, and is spreading to all parts of the world. The development of global Sharia-compliant assets is estimated at over $1 trillion US. with a growth rate of 15 to 20% per annum. And Pakistan is considered to be one of the fastest growing economies in terms of Islamic banking and finance, which makes us understand the purpose and objective of holding this international conference here in Lahore. This success has not emerged without challenges. These challenges are diverse and multidimensional. One of the major challenges Islamic banking and finance industry is facing today is lack of harmonized rules and regulations, and non-uniformity of Islamic banking products and services being offered in various regions of the world. Many scholars, researchers, and writers have expressed their concern on this particular points in their papers, which I have gone through. And I am mentioning some things from those papers. One of their major concerns is the divergence of opinions among Muslim jurists on the basis of the schools of fiqh, Hanafi, Maliki, Shafi'i, Hanbali. They follow regarding the validity and invalidity of certain products offered by the Islamic banks in the world. The use of non-identical standards, codes, and terminologies in different parts and regions of the world among banks and other Islamic financial outfits in accordance with the popular school of fiqh of that region, which is popularly followed by the people. This thing stands as the main reason for not having a standardized and harmonized and uniform and universal Islamic banking system in the world. However, multiple interpretations by various schools of law, by different jurists belonging to different madhabul fiqh regarding Islamic jurisprudence, including Islamic finance, result in minor and major disparities. Keeping in view this fact, it is logical that without a universal Sharia code, without a universally unified and uniformed Sharia code, the acceptability of products introduced in Islamic finance shall remain fragmented. Moreover, the permissibility of certain Islamic financial products varies by region, depending on the school of law prevalent in that geographical area. Currently, different institutes have different standards and practices. So this is one of the major flaws of the Islamic finance industry. Countries differ in their approach to Sharia governance. For example, there is no uniformity in opinion pertaining to the principle of mudaraba in business transactions. So this problem is faced by the bankers and the customers. The customer will not really understand what are the do's and don'ts of Islamic banking industry. They can make their own personal interpretations. So this situation is unhealthy for banker-customer relations, as both parties may each have different interpretations. So a prompt attention and action is required by the Muslim scholars and Islamic finance experts in regards to its a failure would damage the growth of Islamic banking and finance industry in the years ahead. If a global harmony or universal standardization of Islamic banking products and services cannot be achieved by the Muslim world, how the Islamic economics and banking system could be proposed as a right alternative to conventional economics and banking system prevailing all over the world at large. So considering the necessity and importance of this particular issue of standardization of the products, I chose to address this issue, and I made this particular point as the topic of my talk. In the very beginning, I would like to mention the solution, and after that I will come to the details, evidences, so that you may keep in your mind what solution I am going to propose. Then I am responsible to provide the detailed evidences for that. You are not going to be asked. If anybody criticizes you, just refer to me. The solution to the issue of standardization, I would like to put in front of you very briefly and then in detail. The reason of this issue is strict conformity with one school of law. It may be in this particular region, and the other school of law can be in second particular region. The third school of law can be strictly followed by the third region and the fourth in the fourth region. But still, in different parts and regions of the world, one school of law, school of fiqh, is being followed predominantly. So this is taqleedul madhab. Keep in mind, I am Hanafi myself. I confirm with the school of Hanafi law. But still, now, I want to make it clear that the whole reason behind this issue or confusion or complexity or difficulty is taqleedul madhab, strict conformity with one school. The scholars of every region normally issue a dict and a fatwa on the bank product according to their own school. The solution to this problem lies in, so this creates in achievement of the standardization at universal level. The solution to this problem lies in conformity with all the 4 or 5 schools of law. So the answer to this problem is taqleedul madhahib. The problem lies in taqleedul madhab, sticking to one school of fiqh. And solution lies in taqleedul madhahib, becoming flexible in adopting the views of all 4 or 5 schools of fiqh, not concentrating only in one madhab, but expanding and becoming flexible in your view to accept the fatwas and edicts and verdicts from all schools of law together at once. So, this is in a nutshell the answer. The Islamic banking needs to quit from the conformity with one specific school everywhere, and to become open to conformity with all the schools of law. This authority should be vested and should be given to a global Sharia council and not regional Sharia councils. Regional Sharia councils or countrywide functional Sharia councils should not be allowed to give their fatwas in the light of their specific school of fiqh, their specific madhab, which they are following, because the majority of the followers of that particular madhab are residing in that particular country. This creates conflicts and confusions. So an international or global Sharia council should take the charge instead of these local or regional councils. And this global council should have representation of the scholars of all of the schools of law. They may have equal numbers from all schools. All the authority and rules of giving the fatwa of validity or invalidity of the products should be shifted to the global council, and it should be taken away from the local councils and local ulama. All these top-ranking ulama and jurists should become the member of the global Sharia council according to their own stature. If the need does exist of a regional council, that should work under that global Sharia council. The edicts on Islamic banking by all the scholars separately should be banned based on one school of law. And number 2, all the products of Islamic banking that are permissible in any school, any one school, whether it is a Hanafi or Maliki or Shafi'i or Hanbali, in any one school, madhab al-fiqh, all products which are permissible, or any product which is permissible in any madhab, should be declared permissible once for all. And all these permissibilities should be put together because all schools are on the right path. And the evidence of all the schools are the Quran and Sunnah. None of them is wrong. So the method of taqleedul madhab, I'm quoting a specific thing, is at-taqayyud. It narrows your matters. The method of taqleedul madhab is the way of taqayyud, from qaid, confinement. It is at-taqayyud. While the method of taqleedul madhahib is the way of tawassu, expansion, which leads to flexibility. We shall have to adopt the method of flexibility, method of expansion, method of tawassu, instead of method of taqayyud in Islamic banking. Here I would like, after giving this proposal, somebody may think where this specific term or idea I have inferred from. Or does this proposal to adopt taqleedul mazahib in this particular matter, Islamic finance and banking, instead of taqleedul madhab, is this idea supported by any of the jurists and scholars? This question may come in the mind. So here is a book in my hands. I think it is not yet published. And this is the manuscript. And this is authored by Imam Hassan Ash-Shurambulali. Imam Hassan Ash-Shurambulali al-Hanafi, he is the author of Nurul Ida and Maraqiyul Falah. In his manuscripts, he gives an idea of this concept, taqleedul madhahib. I can't quote the page number because this manuscript does not possess the page numbers. I hope his other works are being published this year. When I was in Saudi Arabia and Egypt, Cairo, I was told that all his rasail, Ash-Shurambulaliya, are being published this year. He has quoted Imam Royani. So this is not a very new idea, not a new idea. He has quoted Imam Royani, one of the great ancient jurists of his time. He says, قال الرؤياني يجوز تقليد المذاهب والانتقال إليها بثلاث شروط. The whole book is written on taqleedul mazhab. And the question which he has discussed in his manuscript is the conditions of shifting from one mazhab to other, conditions of adopting the viewpoint of one mazhab for a person who is following other mazhab. The whole book, Al-Iqdul Farid, this book, Al-Iqdul Farid, the book is written on this particular subject. But later he mentions that there is an idea of the whole. He sums up the whole discussion by saying, this is taqleedul madhahib. And Imam Royani says, it is permissible to shift from taqleedul mazhab to taqleedul mazahib in specific situations, in specific circumstances, in order to address the special complexities of the time. Maybe individual or collective. And he says there are three conditions to be fulfilled in order to utilize this principle. The one is when you want to shift from one mazhab to other, or al-intiqal ila taqleed al-mazahib, to taqleed of other mazahib, the first thing should that this verdict or this decision should not be against the categorical ijma of ummah. So please keep in your mind, whenever a difference of opinion exists between the schools of law, between Hanafites, Shafi'ites, Malikites, and Hanbalites, wherever there is a difference of opinion, it means there is no ijma of ummah. This is self-evident. This is not ijma of ummah. So there is a space of difference of opinion on that particular issue. And every particular imam and jurist and mazhab possesses its own evidences and dalail from the same source, and that is Quran and Sunnah. It shouldn't be against ijma, of course, it's very clear. Second, he says that he should keep in the mind while shifting from one mazhab to other mazahib, that you have to believe or you have to conceive that the mazhab or the imam or jurist whose opinion he is shifting to, he has received the traditions or ahadith or akhbar of Holy Prophet and Sahaba and their followers, which were possibly not available to that imam whom I am following now. And the third, by shifting to other madhahib, he should not follow exemptions in order to avoid the commandments of Sharia. No. He should adopt the principle of tawassu', the facility which Almighty Allah wants to provide every single human being through His divine commandments. And I will quote, inshallah, some other evidences also while we go forward. So this is one of the basic things. The same discussion has been come to my study by Allama Shaykh Abdul Hayy al-Muhaddis al-Faqih al-Farangi Mahalli al-Laknawi. And he is a grand teacher of my father, my great-grand teacher, Shaykh Abdul Hayy al-Laknawi, Abul Hasanat. In his Majmu' al-Fatawa, he has supported the same idea, answering a particular question. Now, as I mentioned, I would like to provide now, in the next step, intellectual basis of this methodology. Intellectual basis of methodology of at-tawassu'. So there are two methodologies. Methodology of at-taqayyud, strict conformity to one school, and methodology of at-tawassu', flexibility to accept all the al-jam'u bayn al-madhahib. This is very clear, and there is no difference of opinion on this fact, that every single madhab is haqq, and no one can reject or rebut any of these schools saying that that is absolutely or categorically or definitely wrong. There is no single jurist belonging to any school of law who has permitted this thing. If you consider the other schools wrong, and that's why you reject them or rebut them in totality, in this way a large number of scholars and jurists and authorities following other mazahib of the ummah will be considered misguided, and which is far from possible. You may appreciate when we read the texts of fiqh and compendiums of the school of the law and text, and a specific issue comes before a jurist. He may belong to any school of law. He may be Hanafi, may be Maliki, Shafi, or Hanbali. Giving his edict on that particular issue. And if he finds different opinions on that, different solutions, different evidences, he has different opinions on that particular issue, and he chooses one of them, accepts one of them, and makes that particular viewpoint his stance. At that time, you will find this thing in almost every single textbook of the law, Islamic law. That the jurists, we find, he says, according, in regard of his own viewpoint, that this is arja. Arja means this is preferred. This viewpoint is preferred. Sometimes he says, this is asbat. Sometimes he says, this is azhar. Sometimes he says, this is asah. When he says that this viewpoint which I am adopting and I am giving the edict according to this evidence, this is asah. So asah, on the opposite side of asah, the word is sahih. It means that the other viewpoint which he is not accepting is still sahih and correct in his view. But this is asah, better than that. It possesses higher degree of correction. When he says this is asbat, it is proved, more proved, it means that he is saying that other viewpoint is also thabit. So thabit is never wrong. Thabit is an established truth, but according to him, because of specific evidences, he is going to prefer this and saying this is asbat. Whenever he says this is arjah, means more preferred. So arjah is always opposite of rajih, and rajih means preferable. So a preferable viewpoint cannot be wrong, but he is giving this viewpoint a higher degree of acceptability than that. These are the terms used by the scholars and jurists. So it means the approved, the right should also be considered in positive degree in this case. This is what we find in every textbook, in every compendium of the school of law, in all madhab. Now coming to the next point. The same thing in this case. So it means in every mazhab there is a space to choose one opinion, whereas many other opinions also are existing on the same issue, within the same mazhab. But he has chosen, because of the strength of evidence, one of those opinions within the same mazhab. This is his ikhtiyar. This is his tarjih. Now I want to apply the same principle on the present situation. In this case, when the problems become graver, or their complication becomes international. That was the matter when the problem was belonging to the personal life of a man. The problem was in connection with his domestic life of the man, a matter of the act of worship, religious life of a man. It was within a very small or narrow sphere of his life. So he was following one mazhab. And while following one mazhab, he had many opinions in front of him. And he had many dala'il and evidences in front of him. And after going through the process of comparison, he has chosen one opinion because of the stronger dalil. So same principle is to be applied. This is what we do in, I would say, I will introduce a new term, which I have not seen in the books. This is what we do in intra-school method. Intra-school. So the same principle should be applied on inter-school process, like intra-faith and interfaith. Within your own religion and between all other religions, the same principle of choosing and preferring, which is being applied within our own school, should be applied within all other schools. So when matter becomes international in its complication, and the issue is such that it was never visited in olden times, and this has emerged only in present modern times. So due to international interactions and international problems of the Muslim world, which they are facing with, this would also be essential to resolve contemporary issues which are incompatible with the international market due to the local regulations enforced in any specific country or region. So the dominance of the region approach impedes the way of solutions of such problems which are international in their scope. So a local approach cannot solve a problem which is international in its scope. So you have to come out of that local approach, and you have to be flexible to accept the international approach. Therefore, this is inevitable that while finding solutions to juristic issues of this level, we should look at international basis, because the religion of Islam and Quran and Sunnah, they have provided us with this basis and guidance. And this is the method which leads us to the basic principles of flexibility, principle of accommodation, principle of openness, principle of lease, principle of removal of difficulty, principle of removal of hardship, principle of providing facility, principle of elimination of loss and pain. All these juristic principles are available in Quran and Sunnah and the books of jurisprudence. These are directly provided by divine texts, and the companions of holy prophets and their successors and their followers, and even the scholars and jurists of early eras, they used to adopt the same principle, and they used to follow the same methodology of flexibility, and that's why their scope was always wider. Now, in later eras, a time arrived when Ummah made it imperative to follow any one of the four schools of law for common Muslims in general on the basis of religious and juristic expediency. Religious expediency. This was considered worthwhile for the common Muslims so that the path to chaos and dissension may be impeded. But this, however, does not mean this is taqleedul madhab. Does not mean that this way of conformity should be made a cause of rigidity. Conformity should never be allowed to become a rigidity. And the method of flexibility be abandoned. And this was the straight path being followed by the pioneers, leaders, and guides of Islamic law. That's why if you follow the books on Islamic jurisprudence by different madhab, they have mentioned the grades of the jurists, tabaqatul fuqaha. And they have mentioned 7 grades for fuqaha. 7 grades. First 3 are for mujtahideen, and the remaining 4 are for muqallideen, the conformists and the followers. First is mujtahid fi shar'. Second is mujtahid fil madhab. And according to Shawafi and other terminology, they say mujtahid mutlaq and mujtahid muntasib. And there is a place which they say mujtahid mutlaq muntasib. They join both capacities there. And third one is mujtahid fil masail. No need to go into detail of these categories. I want to just discuss the relevant matter which is relevant to our subject. These are 3 grades of mujtahideen. From 4th grade, the level of muqallideen starts, the followers, where present time we Muslims do fall. The first category of the muqallideen is ashabut takhrij. And keep in your mind, to say the door of ijtihad is closed, there is no ad-dalil ash-shar'i from Quran and Sunnah, neither from the jurists, to say that now categorically there is no possibility of opening the door of ijtihad. None of the jurists have declared this thing, neither from the Hanafis, nor Malikis, nor Shafi'is, nor Hanbalis. As a humble student of Islamic law, and humble student of Sharia, I am saying this thing with full responsibility. What happens? This was the consensus of the Ummah, that after these 4 A'immah, Imam Abu Hanifa, Imam Malik, Imam Shafi, Imam Ahmad bin Hanbal, the Ummah never could achieve any consensus upon other person. So this practical consensus of the Ummah, which was emerged through times and centuries, this created the concept that there is not going to be an absolute open door for absolute ijtihad. So this is by practice of the Ummah. But if we want a dalil in the Nas, you can't find any dalil of Nas, because ijtihad itself is the ni'mah of Almighty Allah. and rahmah of Almighty Allah. And Allah's ni'mah and Allah's rahmah door can never be closed till the day of judgment. So there is a space of interpreting the things and then reinterpreting the things. There is a definite continuous space for interpreting and reinterpreting in different circumstances, different emerging situations from time to time. But the dalil would remain the same, which you have to get the source and the power and energy of that dalil, and then you have to apply it on your own new circumstances according to the compatibility of asl and fara'. The third is ashabut takhrij. And the fourth level is ashabut tarjih. In ashabut takhrij, the scholars and jurists keep on extending the rules. They derive and infer the things and keep on extending it onto the newly arisen situations. Then ashabut tarjih, their position is that they, on the basis of analogies, discuss different verdicts, express their opinions by using epithets like this is most correct. They say, among many other, as I mentioned, opinions, haza awla. These are ashabut tarjih. They give tarjih, preference to one opinion over other. They say haza asah. They say this is most correct. They say haza azhar. This is more clear and evident. They say haza awfaq lil qiyas. This is the best of analogies. And now they say haza arfaq linnas. Arfaq linnas. This is more beneficial for the people. Here lies, this is one of the, again, evidences and bases which I am trying to explain. When they say haza arfaq linnas and haza awfaq lil qiyas, this is the best of the analogies. And this is most evident, and this is most correct. And then they say, this is more beneficial for the people. So, through these categories and through these titles, room has been provided here among ashabut tarjih on the basis of evidence to which verdict could prove easy, polite, and facilitating aspect to the people, so that can be adopted from any time. Anytime. And the whole universal council of Sharia, they would acquire the status of ashabut tarjih, ashabut takhrij, and ashabut tamyiz. If not a single person, if the ulama or the people or followers are not ready to accept this status for a single person, but when these all single persons unite together and it becomes an international council of scholars and experts and jurists, so this council will achieve the status of ashabut takhrij, ashabut tarjih, and ashabut tamyiz. And they would be able to give the decisions either on the basis of tamassuk bil madhab or on the basis of at-tawassu bain al-mazahib. Now the sixth status is ashabut tamyiz. So these people, they have capability of making distinctions in jurisprudence as to which verdict or evidence is stronger, which one is strong, which one is weak, which one is correct, which one is incorrect, which one is more correct. They have to their credit such knowledge and research. They say this is Zahirul Riwaya, this is what represent a school of law, and this hadith is Riwaya Nadira, and this is Zahirul Mazhab. So all these differentiations are allowed to be done by ashabut tamyiz. And on the basis of this takhrij and tarjih and tamyiz, on the basis of this inference and on the basis of this capacity of preference and capacity of distinction, these three qualities, putting them together, this would be exercised These three levels would be exercised by the International Council of Sharia. And then seventh stage comes for muqallideen. And this is mahaz tabaqatul muqallideen. And these are the people who are just conformists. They follow the path of their imams without any compulsory evidence. They don't have any capability to strike distinction. They don't have capability to derive and infer the things from the asl. And they don't have the capability to prefer one opinion to other. So the hukm and the rule which is for al-muqallid al-ami, a person who is just a muqallid, and he does not possess any of these capacities which I have mentioned in the earlier three grades. So his order and his position cannot be applied on other scholars and jurists who have the capacities, and particularly when they join together. Like the jurists, some of the jurists and Hanafis, and they say that a woman cannot go for Hajj without a mahram. So Hajj is not mandatory for her. Imam Shafi'i and other Aimma, they say if she has not mahram, so this concept of mahram, fulfilling the need and the basic philosophy, can be replaced by a group of women. So instead of cutting down the mandatory status of Hajj, she can go with a group of women. So a group of women fulfills that necessity which was not being fulfilled by a single woman. When you put many women together and made a group, they became a replacement of a male, mahram. In the same way, either one scholar or jurist, according to some people, I don't want to challenge anybody's view. If some people say that we are not ready to accept this status of ashabut takhrij, ashabut tarjih, ashabut tamyiz for this particular man, when you put all scholars from four mazahib together in the form of a council, so this becomes mahram of Sharia. It's fulfilled. And I would like to explain one more important thing. When this consensus was developed of tamassuk bil madhab, at-taqayyud bil madhab, follow one madhab, conformity with the school, this implies that the prophetic sunnah and his commands have been protected right from the beginning till end by the ummah. Any act which was performed by Holy Prophet, and it was reported to Imam Abu Hanifa, he gave his fatwa to act upon that. Any act performed by Holy Prophet in different time, that information was received by Imam Shafi'i, not by Imam Abu Hanifa, or by Imam Abu Hanifa and not by Imam Shafi'i, or that was to Imam Malik and not to other Imam. So he gave the fatwa according to that sunnah, Shafi'i gave the fatwa according to other sunnah, and Maliki and Hanafi, Imam Malik and Hanbal, he gave fatwa according to other sunnah. The main divine intention of Almighty God was that every single act which was ever performed by Prophet, his beloved Prophet Muhammad, ever performed by him, Almighty Allah wanted that every single practice of Prophet Muhammad should be preserved. Every single act of performance, every single saying, every single sunnah, every single tradition, every single approval which was done by Holy Prophet should be protected and should be practiced. Should be protected and should be practiced till the day of judgment. But the protection of the whole sum of the sunnah of Holy Prophet was not possible through one school, through one madhab. So Almighty Allah, through his divine arrangement, allowed the ummah that 4 and 5 different schools of law may emerge. So some of the sunnah are preserved in Hanafite form. Some of the sunnah of Holy Prophet preserved and practiced by Shafi'i form. Some of them by Hanbali form. Some of them by Maliki form. So the mazahib are to protect the sunnah of Holy Prophet, not to create the rigidity and left the other sunnahs. So the mazahib, the existence of mazahib is to create totality, and a total comprehension of the practices of the Holy Prophet ﷺ. These are not in order to create rigidity and partiality. When we act upon taqayyud, follow one mazhab, this becomes the safest way. This becomes safest way in our personal life. And when we follow the way of flexibility, at-tawassu, and harmony, this is the better and beneficial way for the ummah in order to address the difficulties and complexities of their time. So the basic solution lies al-jam'u bayna at-taqayyud wa at-tawassu. At-taqayyud, conformity with very narrower spheres of our life, and tawassu with wider and international aspects of our life. And of course, Islamic banking and Islamic finance is not a personal matter which is not related to other individual. This is a matter which relates to the whole ummah, which relates to the whole world, which relates to the whole mankind. And we have to support the Islamic finance system as a part of deen in order to provide this aspect, that this can be compatible and a better solution for the Muslim ummah in order to circulation of wealth as compared to the traditional banking and economic system. So this needs concentration on deen and not just on the fiqh. We have to differentiate between the deen and the fiqh. Fiqh is a part and deen is the totality. You can practice the whole deen by tawassu bain al-mazahib. And the same principle which I mentioned, I will just like to give a quick quote from the Quran and Sunnah. Deen was revealed on Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and Sunnah of the Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam was provided to the mankind in order to facilitate the mankind and not to put in troubles. Quran says, "Yuridullahu bikumul yusra wala yuridu bikumul usra." Allah desires ease for you and does not desire hardship for you. Again stated in Quran, "Huwajtabakum wama ja'ala alaykum fid deen min haraj." He has chosen you and has not laid upon you any hardship or constriction in the matter of deen. Again stated in Quran, "Ma yuridullahu liyaj'ala alaykum min haraj." Allah does not want to make things hard for you. Again stated in Quran, "Yuridullahu an yukhaffifa ankum." Allah intends to lighten your burden and problems, to remove the hardships. And then Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, some hadith, he said, "Inna Allah lam yab'asni mu'annitan wala muta'annitan walakin ba'asani mu'allim muyassira." In Bukhari and Muslim, indeed Allah did not send me to be harsh or cause harm or difficulty for you. He sent me to teach and make things easy for you. He sent me to facilitate the mankind in order to address the complexities of life. Then same thing by Abu Huraira. Abu Burza Aslami says that I waged 6, 7 or 8 battles with Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Even during the times of war, he said, I saw his way of making things easy for everyone. He never neglected the aspect of ease for the mankind, even during the war period. Then again, Aisha radiyallahu ta'ala anha says, "Ma khuyyira Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam bayna amayn illa akhadha aysarahuma ma lam yakun isma." Never was Allah's messenger presented with 2 options. Keep in mind, 2 options. If any 2 options were presented to Holy Prophet, in the same way, the 4 mazahib are presenting you 4 options. All of the mazahib are presenting you different options in the form of their products, in the form of their validations, in the form of their fatwas, their edicts and verdicts. 4 options. Maybe 5, 6, and 8 options, because sometimes the single madhab gives you many options. Holy Prophet, he was never presented with 2 options, except that he would choose the easier of the 2. This is the sunnah of Holy Prophet. Sunnah of Holy Prophet is to choose the easier of the 2. So why not we come towards the sunnah of Holy Prophet, who is the founder of deen, who is the main, guides us the spring of guidance for the whole mankind. If his practice and sunnah is that he was used to choose the easier option among many other options, so why not we are allowed to choose the easier solution for Islamic banking and finance industry for the world in order to promote the Islamic economy, easier of them, whatever easier, whether available from Hanafi or Maliki or Shafi, Hanbali, put them all together and adopt the sunnah of Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. This will solve the problem. Again, Holy Prophet used to say, it is reported by Anas bin Malik, Yassiru wala tu'assiru, fabashiru wala tunaffiru. Make things easy and do not make things difficult. So there are many hadiths on this subject. And Holy Prophet said to the companions, Abu Huraira narrates, فَإِنَّمَا بُئِسْتُمْ مُيَسِّرِينَ وَلَمْ تُبَسُوا مُؤَسِّرِينَ. This is again in Sahih Muslim. Holy Prophet said, you were sent to make things easy and not to make things difficult. These are the basic principles which Holy Prophet has said. And Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal, he reports in his Musnad, Bisanad Sahih, he said, خَيْرُ دِينِكُمْ أَيْهُ. The best of your deen is the easier part. Best of the deen is the easier option. So this basic principle of tawassu, in order to provide ease and facility, is based on the direct text of the Quran and Sunnah, and this is the basic spirit of the deen which was Holy Prophet was raised with. Now, keeping in mind, there are qawaid, the principle for this tawassu. I'm going to quote, there are many evidences, but I pick some of them. Imam Abu Hanifa, Imam Abu Bakr al-Jassas reports in his book, Sharh Mukhtasar at-Tahawi. He says Imam Abu Hanifa would issue a edict that the crop share lease contract is lawful. Muzara'a, according to him, was unlawful. This was his edict. Now, very important thing. The Muzara'a, crop share lease contract, he declared it to be unlawful. What happened afterwards? Then he revised his, Imam Abu Hanifa revised his verdict by saying, I am making this particular sentence as the basis of this evidence. He said, by saying, indeed, people will not follow my verdict. They will feel difficulty in practice. If I stick to this opinion and this fatwa, it will create difficulty in the lives of people. So they won't be able to follow my verdict. Allama ibn Taymiyyah quotes in his Majmu' al-Fatawa here at this point. So people will not follow my verdict on prohibiting from crop share lease agreement. And he says that is how he changed his view, and his both students, Imam Abu Yusuf and Imam Muhammad, they implemented his degree of permissibility. Their view was of a permissibility. But some people think that the prohibition was the Imam Abu Hanifa's view, and permissibility was the view of Sahiban, Abu Yusuf and Muhammad. But Allama ibn Taymiyyah has cleared, no, Imam Abu Hanifa himself changed his view. And the dalil changing his view was that by this fatwa, people will find difficulty in their life, they won't be able to practice it. So this is the principle given by the great Aimma, which I want to suggest in order to address the present problem of standardization. Then there used to be many events according to Aimma, all mazahib. Allama ibn Qudama, I would like to quote here. He is a great jurist of al-fiqh al-Hanbali. He quotes in Rawdatun Nadir fi usul al-fiqh. Ibn Qudama says, if a jurist is approached, very important thing. Now this is Ibn Qudama al-Hanbali's view. He says, if a jurist is approached for an edict, for a fatwa, and his edict remains devoid of openness, his edict remains devoid of flexibleness because of his rigidity, then the edict seeker should be guided towards some other jurist, towards some other mufti, who is open-minded and flexible, and his fatwa should be adopted, not the fatwa of the first person who had rigidity in his mind. So same thing you see, same principle of tawassu, changing the fatwa on the basis of removal of difficulty from the lives of the people, was the basic guiding principle Imam Abu Hanifa's life, and same was in Imam Ahmad bin Hanbal's life. And Imam Ahmad bin Hanbal used to say, Allama ibn Qudama quotes again that Al-Hussein bin Bashar inquired from Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal about an issue. He said, if he does it, he will become a perjurer. Al-Hussein bin Bashar said, O Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal, if someone issues me the edict that he will not be a perjurer, then what? Then what will be the case? Imam Ahmad bin Hanbal to him replied, do you know of Medinan's session at Rasafa? Do you know a place, Rasafa, where the Medinan jurists and scholars sit there in a circle and they issue the fatwas? He said, yes, I do. He said, if they issue, go there, if they issue, would that be permissible? He asked. He said, Imam Ahmad bin Hanbal said, in affirmative, yes, it would be permissible for you. So he himself is guiding the inquirer to go to Rasafa and get the answer from Medinan scholars. Because my opinion is rigid and is open. And openness is always nearer and closer to the basic spirit of Islamic teachings. Same thing, all other scholars and all others have quoted. Imam Abu Hanifa and his associates would instruct to perform fresh wudu if bleeding occurred. Imam Abu Yusuf observed Harun al-Rashid got cupping or skin bleeding therapy, and did not perform fresh wudu, and he led the prayer. Imam Abu Yusuf prayed behind him. He had edict from Imam Malik, Harun al-Rashid. Abu Yusuf offered the ritual prayer behind him and did not repeat the ritual prayer afterwards. He was asked, he said he got a fatwa from Imam Malik. That's it. So all those, the founders of the fiqh, they used to practice the same principles, and all Islamic jurisprudence came into existence by following this principle. Similarly, Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal, he believed and gave the fatwa that cupping therapy spoils ritual ablution, wudu. He was asked, if the prayer leader bleeds and he does not refresh his wudu, you offer the ritual prayer behind him? Imam Ahmad bin Hanbal was asked. He said, how come I would not offer prayer in the prayer leadership of Imam Malik and Sayyid bin Musayyab? Because they have a different fatwa. So this was the big mention through some of these in this part. Examples, how the Aimma who founded the schools of law based their jurisprudence on the concept of tawassu and not on the concept of taqayyud. Now, it is important to understand that there are two kinds of legal matters. Some are agreed upon. All other scholars have consensus on them. So no second opinion is required about that matters. The second kind of matters is of difference of opinion. If the matter is related to difference of opinion, it has further three kinds. First type of difference is a statement that negates the command explicitly. And command is based on the sacred text of Quran and Sunnah. So this statement right away. Second type of difference in ijtihad and fatwa of scholars relates to matters that do not cause any harm or explicit contradiction to the sacred text, or any legal command of Almighty God is not left out. So of this type, made by different authorities are available, any one of them can be adopted, because by adopting any single statement, the text of Quran is not being rebutted. And the text of the Sunnah of Holy Prophet explicitly is not being rebutted. Here does lie the difference between explicit rebuttal and implicit rebuttal. When the matter is lies with explicit rebuttal, it is stopped. When lies with implicit, then you have to further explain that implicit means there is a space of interpretations and further interpretations. And the third type, conformist of a juristic school, who fails to get an edict on some matter, and that's why he shifts to other school to get fatwa from that. Imam Waliullah Muhaddis ad-Dehlawi, he says at this point, Shah Waliullah Muhaddis, he says in his book, Iqdul Jeed fi Ahkam al-Ijtihad wa Taqleed, he says in most of the juristic reasonings which contain difference of opinions, very important thing, he says all opinions, whether from different, Shah Waliullah Muhaddis Dehlavi says, sticking only to one way and believing firmly opponent's viewpoint is definitely wrong. This idea is baseless. This is totally baseless. And Imam Izzuddin bin Abdul Salam, he says that successful is the person who acted upon things, the agreed upon. Scholars mean scholars belonging to all mazahibul fiqh, all schools of law. If they agreed upon, he acted upon those things and refrained from things which the scholars declared unlawfully without any disagreement, and believed reality of matters which the scholars and jurists decreed unanimously, and also performed the acts which the scholars unanimously regarded commendable, and abstained from the acts which the scholars unanimously agreed to disapprove. So Izzuddin Abdul Salam, what he is trying to, he says any matter where all scholars and jurists belonging to all schools of law, they are unanimous, you have no other way. And then he says, if there are things and matters where disagreement between mazahib and disagreement between the jurists does exist, scholars disagreed and could not get together on one opinion, it can further be divided into two forms. The matter wherein they had difference of opinion pertained to the issues which repeal the command of lawgiver, then no scope for that. And if there is a difference where it does not pertain to the issue about which the order of lawgiver is being explicitly repealed, then you can adopt either of them. Either of them can be adopted. And again, Shah Waliullah Muhaddis ad-Dehlavi, he says that this difference of opinion is of four kinds, which exist between madhab and the jurists. He said difference of opinion is not justified in matters. The truth is absolutely and definitely and certainly determined. There is no place of difference of opinion. First thing is out of scope of adoption. Second kind, he says the problem where the truth is determined by majority vote, majority vote of the jurists and scholars, and it weighs in a predominant scale, it would become arja. And the other viewpoint would become rajah. And the third problem, where both the aspects are under authority and none is preferred to other. And the fourth, the issue where authority is given on both sides and none of them is dominant opinion. So according to ulama and fuqaha, leaving the first kind apart, all the three mentioned places where difference of opinion takes place use their juristic discretion in the last of these three situations following the principles of jurisprudence, and none of the jurists have prohibited from that. Because the difference of each, there are different reasons. Sometimes a mujtahid found a hadith about an incident while the other missed it. In this case, the one who found the truth is mujtahid muayyan. Second reason of every mujtahid has and reports of the companion, but every one of them exercised ijtihad in preferring or finding compatibility among hadith and companions. So their ijtihad took it to the status of a determined command, due to which the difference of opinion transpired. There is a scope. The third mujtahid differed in following matters, the mujtahideen. They differ, they interpret the things, elucidate the words and idioms, their use, and determine their meanings and implications. So if the difference is related on this particular act, you have an open option. That's why he said, ikhtilaf. Umar bin Abdul Aziz used to say, ikhtilaf ummat Muhammadin rahmatun. The ikhtilaf between the jurists of Ummat of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is mercy of Almighty Allah. Because none of them are negating explicitly the command of God. They are trying to determine the meaning, trying to specify the implication of that particular word. Now they are trying to pinpointing and determining the confines of usages and the true recognition of conditions and elements of emotion. Thus, ijtihad of every mujtahid took him to a separate and permanent opinion. So mujtahideen differed in framing their juristic principles. And since their juristic principles which they frame were different, resultantly difference of opinion occurred in peripheral issues as well. Therefore, all of the mujtahids are on the street, and all above mentioned forms, when their sources are near to compatible with the mentioned methodology, that is, one can easily accept them without any confusion. Furthermore, there should not be any complication in order to remove the difficulties and complexities. Practically, in the books of law, has been adopted by Hanafis and Malikis and Shafi'is and Hanbalis. There is a famous book of Imam Ibn Abidin Ash-Shami, Raddul Muhtar, discussing about the non-permissibility of recovering one's right from the opposite gender. In the olden times, the jurist was owing to common practice of observance. It was not permissible. He says, however, by having power and possession of others' property or wealth, a dict exists on permissibility of recovering from that, especially in case of our countries, because the people are persistently practicing disobedience. Imam Ibn Abidin Ash-Shami says, these are the words. He said, this is not lawful for a legally rightful person to recover his right from other than the gender of his own right. But Hanafi Shafi'i, however, has declared it permissible. And then he says that this opinion of Imam Shafi'i is capacious. This provides facility to the people, so this should be adopted. So this is the basic principle adopted by Hanafites, and the same Shafi'is, same by Malikis. The word huwal awsa is more capacious. So it determines the way to fulfill the right of the rightful. And same principle is given by Ibn al-Hammam and Ibn Amir al-Hajj in the Shafi'i views, and these are Hanafi jurists. Same issues have been discussed in the light of Shirka and Mudaraba bil Urud, and the right of Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal, and the right and the statement of Imam Malik, and statement Ibn Abi Layla by Sahib al-Mughni, and he is a Hanbali Imam, a Hanbali jurist. Then in Shafi'i jurisprudence, you know Al-Mawardi, a famous Shafi'i jurist, despite being a Shafi'i, in his book proofs, reports and rulings from different schools of law, and he has invariably included their verdicts in his book without giving preference to any. For example, quoting rules about an apostate, Imam Malik's view, and then he quotes Imam Abu Hanifa's view, and does not regard offering these delayed, and here has stated verdicts of Imam Malik and Imam Abu Hanifa, whereas he himself is Shafi'i, but has not preferred any opinion to other. Al-Mawardi. In the same way, in case of Hajj, Al-Mawardi has taken up the verdict of Imam Abu Hanifa and has not preferred any other verdict. In the same way, Al-Mawardi, he states the verdict of Imam Abu Hanifa and Imam Abu in the matter of the wealth of an apostate, whether it would be confiscated or not. So he does not reject any of them, nor he has given preference to any verdict. Being Shafi'i, he takes the opinion of Abu Hanifa and Abu Yusuf. Quoting Darul Haq regarding apostate, Mawardi described the verdict of Imam Abu Hanifa without quoting any other opinion, being Shafi'i, and has not rejected it. In Ushriya lands, the lands of Ushr, he quotes Imam Shafi'i's views, Imam Muhammad bin Hassan, Imam Sufyan as-Sawri, and he has neither rejected any of them nor preferred one over the other. So this is a common practice of great Shafi'i jurists. In Aqdul Jizyah, condition for security tax, if the non-security tax, whether it will be a breach of agreement or not, Al-Mawardi presented Imam Abu Hanifa's verdict as evidence and does not reject any other opinion. So this is a common practice of Shafi'i jurists, that they take the opinion of Hanafis and of Malikis, they take opinions of Hanbalis, they take opinion of Imam Thawri, in the same way as Imam Abu Hanifa and Hanafis, they have taken opinions of Shafi'is and Malikis. They have taken. The same practice is being adopted by the Shafi'is. And in the end book, Al-Ahkam Sultaniyya, elucidating its rationale, Al-Mawardi writes that since these issues, is a very important quotation, these issues relate to common good. This is the last part and very significant finish. Al-Mawardi says, since these issues, where I have taken the opinions of Hanafis, opinions of Shafi'is, opinions of Hanbalis, and opinions of Malikis, in spite of being himself Shafi'i, he says, why I have taken from all madhab, al-ahkam sultaniyya, the rules of governance, the rules of taxation, the rules of private and public international law, the rules of economy, because these are the levels where we have to interact with nations, where we have to interact with different countries. He says, since these issues relate to common good, evidence can be acquired from the verdicts of other imams for sake of openness and for sake of easiness. هذا من المصالح العامة التي يتسع حكمها على. So he has given the reason that when the matter comes up to this stage, then we are supposed to get from all mazahib. So this is the practice of Hanafis and Malikis and Shafi'is. And last, not the least, say here that it can be asserted in the light of legal arguments. Very important quotation of Imam Waliullah Muhaddis ad-Dehlvi. Apart from the prophets, he says, apart from the prophets, this is not legally prohibited to differ with any person. Apart from the prophets, you can differ. It is not legally prohibited. And a person may be of any exalted position in any issue, under any circumstances. This station, not to differ with, is only exclusive for Allah and His exalted messenger. And the four Imams too have expanded. The mazahib comes under the article of ulil amri minkum. And Quran and Sunnah comes under the article of ya ayyuhallazina amanu ati'ullaha wa ati'ur rasul. The word ati'u, the commandment of ati'u has been repeated same way as it was for Allah. Ati'ullaha wa ati'ur rasul. The command has been repeated. But in case of ulil amr, this command word has been deleted. Ati'ullaha wa ati'ur rasul wa ulil amri minkum. So the command ati'u has not been revised, because the word Allah signifies the authoritative, absolute authoritativeness of Quran. The word ar-Rasul signifies the absolute and permanent, unchallengeable, unqualified, uncontingent obedience to Holy Prophet. Then comes the case of itaat of ulil amr. The word atiyu has not been repeated. It means that the itaat of ulil amr is conditional. That's why he said, فَإِن تَنَازَعْتُمْ فِي شَيْءٍ فَرُدُّوهُ إِلَى اللَّهِ وَالرَّسُولِ. If you have a difference of opinion with your ulil amr opinion, with a party, difference opinion with a justice, with a jurist, difference opinion with a madhab, فَرُدُّوهُ إِن تَنَازَعْتُمْ فِي شَيْءٍ فَرُدُّوهُ إِلَى اللَّهِ وَالرَّسُولِ. Then go direct to Allah and Prophet, yani Quran and Sunnah. The absolute authorities vest in Quran and Sunnah. And so you can find an interpretation of the nas of the hadith of Holy Prophet. Here lies the scope of at-tawassu bayn al-mazahib, under al-ulil amri minkum. So, Shah Waliullah Muhaddis Dehlvi says here that that there was a difference in their understanding, the Sahaba. But despite that, there is consensus among the companions on the permissibility of following a path of lower preference in the presence of the higher one or the best one. Even if you consider higher possesses the higher rank in correctness, and the other opinion of the mazhab is lower. Imam Waliullah Muhaddis Dehlvi says, companions of Holy Prophet, they were unanimous on this point, that you can get the opinion from a person who is lower in preference in the presence of the, because both of them, they are getting the guidance from Quran and Sunnah. And it is again stated, Allama ibn Taymiyyah says, Ibn Abidin Ash-Shami says, he says in certain issues, this is permissible for a person to follow another imam's school, provided he cares for all the terms and conditions of other imam. And further states, Imam Shami says, one can follow contradictory commandments issued for different incidents from different mazahib, because all of these imams are following the truth and path. In order to shift from a mazhab to another, and the jurists just concentrate on this condition, that the condition, juristic principles which have been formulated, which have been mentioned by the scholars and by the jurists, where you are allowed to shift from a mazhab, allowed to act upon the fatwas bain al-mazahib, only juristic principles should be fulfilled, conditions should be fulfilled, but you are never required at this level where you are performing the Islamic banking and economic system all over the world. If you still remain within the limited scope of one and the second mazhab in second region, and third mazhab in third region, and fourth mazhab in fourth region, you won't be able to compete with international system of economics and international finance system. So in order to compete with the world, we need the universality of the system, the universality provided by Quran and Sunnah, and which has been followed by the companions, their followers, their successors, and Aimma Arba, and jurists, all jurists which belong to Mazahib Arba or Mazahib Khamsa. This openness and at-tawassu bain al-mazahib will solve the problem and complication very much. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.